As the project team leaders for this Vietnam War Memorial, Tran Nguyen and I welcome you to the official grand opening of this tangible expression of appreciation and honor for the 400,000 soldiers from South Vietnam, the United States, and 6 other countries who sacrificed their lives fighting for freedom from communism during the Vietnam War. Since this memorial is a result of a joint partnership between the Vietnamese Americans and U.S. Vietnam veterans, we will be honoring both countries during this ceremony, including having 2 keynote speakers, one born in Vietnam and one born in the United States.
Kính chào quý vị, trong vai trò là trưởng toán điều hành dự án xây dựng Đài tưởng niệm chiến tranh Việt Nam, chúng tôi là John Butler và Trà My Nguyễn. Xin kính chào tất cả quý vị đã đến tham dự buổi lễ khánh thành hôm nay, nhằm ghi ơn và vinh danh 400.000 chiến sĩ Việt Nam Cộng Hòa, Hoa Kỳ và 6 quốc gia đồng minh là những người đã hy sinh cuộc sống của họ cho chính nghĩa tự do, chống lại chủ nghĩa cộng sản trong cuộc chiến tranh Việt Nam. Công trình này là kết quả của sự hợp tác giữa cộng đồng người Việt và cựu chiến binh Hoa Kỳ. Xuyên suốt buổi lễ, chúng tôi sẽ vinh danh cả 2 quốc gia, trong đó sẽ có phần phát biểu của 2 vị diễn giả, một người sinh ra ở Việt Nam và một người sinh ra ở Hoa Kỳ.
Now please stand as you're able for the presentation of colors, first by the Vietnamese Color Guard, and then by the Johns Creek Veteran Association Color Guard, followed by the national anthems of South Vietnam and the United States, played by the wonderful Golden Eagle Band of the University of North Georgia Corps of Cadets.
Detail, halt. Mark time, mark. Detail, halt. Left, please.
Trước hết là lễ chào Quốc kỳ Việt Nam Cộng Hòa.
And now the South Vietnamese national anthem.
Cử quốc thiều Việt Nam Cộng Hòa.
And now the national anthem of the United States.
Present arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Port Earth.
Men, fight,
Right. Peace.
wait,
Retire the colors.
chuột, bước.
Lễ chào cờ đã xong, kính mời Toán Quốc kỳ rời vị trí hành lễ và xin kính mời tất cả quý vị đồng an tọa.
Half step forward. Forward.
From the inception of this project throughout its development, we have been encouraged by the support of the Dunwoody City Council and Mayor Lynn Deutsch. We are very grateful for their partnership. Please welcome Mayor Lynn Deutsch with her opening remarks.
Kính thưa quý vị, trong suốt quá trình thực hiện dự án, chúng tôi đã nhận được sự yểm trợ của Hội đồng thành phố Dunwoody và bà thị trưởng Lynn Deutsch. Chúng tôi xin chân thành biết ơn và vinh dự khi biết Đài tưởng niệm chiến sĩ Việt Mỹ sẽ được sự bảo quản và chăm sóc của thành phố trong tương lai. Xin kính mời quý vị cùng chào đón bà thị trưởng và bà diễn văn khai mạc để chào mừng quan khách tham dự.
Thank you. Good morning. A few years ago, Dunwoody resident Jay Pryor introduced John Butler to me. They were interested in building a memorial for the soldiers lost in the Vietnam War, both from the United States and South Vietnam. I suggested they work with the Parks Department and City Council. It was Council member Rob Price who suggested this space, this location next to the DeKalb Veterans Memorial. Today, we stand here to honor those fallen heroes, ensuring their memories will be forever etched into our hearts. This partnership with the memorial team has been unique from the beginning. By bringing together Vietnam War veterans from the United States and South Vietnam and Vietnamese Americans to pay tribute to the lives lost defending freedom, we have created far more than just a monument. This legacy is not only the monument itself, but also the strong relationships formed and the shared memories that unite us. Only one of a handful of places that honor soldiers from both the United States and South Vietnam, it is a true privilege for Dunwoody to be its home. I want to recognize those who made this memorial and this ceremony possible. If you are a Dunwoody City Council member, if you could please stand. And if there are other elected officials here joining us, or former elected officials or future elected officials, if you would stand please to be recognized. I want to thank our city manager, Eric Linton, Rachel Waldron, who is our current Parks Director and certainly got this project over the finish line, and Brent Walker, our previous Parks Department Director, who was here at its beginning. The Memorial Project team members, Bart Walters, the band director, and the Golden Eagle Band. Let's give them a big hand for being here from the University of North Georgia. The Vietnamese Veterans Color Guard, the Johns Creek Veterans Association Honor Guard, Doug Lackey, President, and the members of the Vietnam Helicopters Pilot Association for providing a real Huey helicopter for today. The Georgia Military Vehicle Preservation Association for providing Vietnam-era military vehicles, and Seesaw Partners providing the hot air balloon. Members of the Vietnamese American Community of Georgia, members of the Atlanta Vietnam Veterans Business Association. Today, we have gathered to honor the brave soldiers from both the United States and South Vietnam who stood together in the face of adversity, fighting for freedom and peace. Let us remember their legacy, ensuring that their heroism is never forgotten, and may their dedication and this dedication continue to inspire generations to come. And now it is my pleasure and honor to introduce Long Tran, a Dunwoody resident and one of our Georgia State representatives.
Good morning, everyone. I'm State Representative Long Tran, and it's such an honor to be here. Xin chào quý vị. Lâm là Trần Xuân Lâm, nhân biểu ở tiểu bang Georgia. Xin lỗi, Lâm sẽ nói vài câu ở trong tiếng Anh, tiếng Việt của Lâm nó hơi ngậm. I apologize to my Vietnamese community. I'm going to say my remarks in English today because my Vietnamese isn't all that great. It is remarkable to be standing up here, and to the younger generation, to my sons in the audience. It's been 49 years since the end of the Vietnam War. In our community, so many of you came here with nothing but bags in your hands, like my mother. And so to be standing here as a state representative is a testament to the resiliency of our community, but the greatness of our country. To have the respect of this community to put the son of a Vietnamese refugee is truly remarkable. And so to the younger generation, I want to close with this. It is proven in America with my parents' generation, your grandparents' generation, that here in America you can accomplish anything. We have seen Vietnamese represented on the football fields as doctors, as astronauts, as engineers, nurses, teachers, through every facet of America, small business owners. And so it is not simply a choice for you to make. It is a duty for you to continue the legacy and the work that so many behind me, this monument honors, the sacrifices they made for freedom. So it is your duty as the next generation to work hard and never give up on your dreams. Because America is the only place in the world where you can truly become anything you set your mind to it. And real quickly, I know we have some officials from out of state. We have Erica Moragutsu from the White House and Tran Nguyen from Boston. Thank you for being here. And thank you to Tran Nguyen and John Butler for all of the work you did. I first met you guys 3 years ago, and now it's reality. Thank you, everyone.
We are very pleased and honored to have Major General retired Lapte Cho Flora as our first of two keynote speakers today. As a child in 1980, Lapte Chow and his family barely escaped communist Vietnam by boat. He arrived in the United States as a penniless, traumatized Vietnamese teenager with the equivalent of a 5th grade education. He knew how to survive in the jungle, evade checkpoints, and control the terror he often felt. But he could barely speak only a few words of English and had little practice of how to live a regular life. Yet within 7 years of his American arrival, Lapte Cho had a new name, a degree from the Virginia Military Institute, and a career as an officer in the greatest army on earth, as he put it. General Flora is thought to be the only Vietnamese boat person to become a general officer in the U.S. military. He most recently served as commander of Combined Joint Task Force Horn of Africa. He retired earlier this year from the Army as a Major General after having served 36 years. Among General Flora's numerous awards and decorations are the General MacArthur Leadership Award, Joint Superior Service Medal, Legion of Merit with Bronze Oak Leaf Cluster, Bronze Star Medal, and Meritorious Service Medal with 3 Bronze Oak Leaf Clusters.
Please put your hands together and welcome Major General Trao lập thể Flora.
Good morning, and thank you very much to everyone for coming. Thank you, John. Thank you, Jeremy, for the introduction. But really, most importantly, thank you for your leadership, for making today's dedication ceremony possible. Your tireless effort to honor the Vietnam War fallen heroes reminded me of these inspiring words from our late President John F. Kennedy. And I quote, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest form of appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them." End quote. And live by them you did. So thank you very much. General Helbley, Marilyn Deutsch, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is an immense honor for my wife Thuy and I to be here today, to join you in paying solemn tribute to our Vietnam War fallen heroes who fought violently against the spread of communism and to preserve the freedom of South Vietnam. Their sacrifice, courage, and dedication to the cause of freedom will forever be etched in the annals of history, reminding us the true cause of peace and liberty. Over 2.7 million Americans served in Vietnam, and over 58,000 gave their lives. And thousands more still unaccounted for. After 20 years of fighting communism, the former Republic of Vietnam lost nearly 300,000 service members, and many more thousands from our allies and partners. We owe them all a debt of gratitude. With all our hearts, we honor you. With deep gratitude, we thank you today. As we gather here on this beautiful ground to honor the 400,000 brave souls who laid down their lives during the Vietnam War, we want to also honor the living heroes who fought alongside them, and many of them are here today with us. Their devotion to duty, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment to serve their fellow men will forever inspire us and reminding us of the enduring strength of those who survived to carry the legacy forward. As a child growing up in Vietnam, I witnessed firsthand the sacrifices made by these brave men and women who fought against the spread of communism. Now to our families of veterans who are waited, prayed, endured loss and separation, we honor your quiet strength and sacrifice. To our allies and partners who fought alongside the Americans and South Vietnamese soldiers, from South Korea to Australia, Thailand to Philippines, New Zealand to Taiwan, your support and camaraderie were crucial to the fight for freedom, and we honor you with the deepest respect and gratitude. I also would like to take a moment to honor the soldiers who remain missing in action and their families. To the brave souls whose faces are still unknown, we remember you, and we vow never to forget your sacrifice. Your absence is a painful reminder of the ultimate cause of war and your families have borne an indescribable burden. Living with the unknown, the uncertainty, and the hope that someday answers will come. We honor your strength, your perseverance, and the undying love you have for your loved ones. Please know that your sacrifice will never be forgotten. Today, as we honor the brave soldiers who fought for us, we realize that looking back helps us see the full picture. A picture once was obscured by suffering, but by moving forward with hope and gratitude, we can become the people we are meant to be. So growing up, I knew that soldiers were there to help us. For a child in a war-torn country, experiencing fear and uncertainty, the soldiers were always the heroes. They were the guardians of peace, the bulwark of liberty, and the beacon of light for millions of us in dark places. At a time when the United States was facing its own challenges, the Americans still came when they were called. They came, they risked their lives, and many of them died for people who looked different from them, for children that chased after them for candy and chewing gum. In closing, I extend my deepest appreciation and congratulations to the Vietnamese American community of Georgia, the Atlanta Vietnam Veterans Business Association, and of course the city of Dunwoody. Your hard work and generosity has made this memorial a reality, ensuring that the sacrifices of our Vietnam veterans are never forgotten. This memorial is not just a tribute to the past. It is a symbol of our shared value and our hope for a future defined by peace and freedom. To all Vietnam veterans, families, and those still missing in action, with humble gratitude, we say thank you. We honor you, and your legacies will live on. So let this memorial serve as a place of reflection, remembrance, a reminder of the price of freedom, and an inspiration to future generations to continue building a world that is free and just. Thank you. God bless all of you, and God bless America.
Thank you very much, General Flora. We are now very pleased and honored to have Lieutenant General retired James R. Ron Helbley as our second keynote speaker. In 1966, during the Vietnam War, an 18-year-old raised his right hand and enlisted in the United States Army as an infantryman, just like his dad had done a little over 20 years earlier, after completing his 42-year career in May of 2006 as the commander of the U.S. Army Reserves. He went on to serve 2 years as the Chief Defense Representative to Pakistan under the U.S. Central Command. Among General Helmley's numerous awards and decorations as a combat veteran are the Distinguished Service Medal, the Legion of Merit, a Bronze Star with Valor device, and the Meritorious Service Medal.
Chào ông, chào bà, chào cô. Tôi là Cô Van Mỹ, Helbley. Similar to our previous speakers who apologized for perhaps their halting Vietnamese, I would tell you my command of English is also halting. And I was born and raised here in the great state of Georgia. And that may tell you something. My name's Ron Helbley. I'm an American soldier, and though retired, I retain a soldier's heart. and that is why I'm here this morning, to honor fellow soldiers, American and South Vietnamese. And I emphasize that, soldiers. It's been said that soldiering is an affair of the heart. I would simply tell you that our South Vietnamese colleagues had an affair of the heart similar to their allies in the United States. To begin, I wish to paraphrase from a speech delivered by former President Abraham Lincoln, unarguably one of America's greatest presidents, who at the dedication of a United States Civil War cemetery in 1863, that is Gettysburg, uttered some famous words. The point I would emphasize here is that orations or speeches, regardless of how grand they may be or the rank or position of the orator or speaker, cannot replace the dedication that has already been wrought by the completely unselfish and heroic acts on a battlefield by the dead of a war, this war or any war. Their very act of laying down their lives has already consecrated a monument, including this monument, far beyond whatever words may be uttered at this or other times. President Lincoln said, and I quote, that we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, end quote, in this instance a monument, that it is the brave men, living and dead, who struggled, who have consecrated such monuments. And as Lincoln intoned in his famous speech, continuing, and I quote, the world will little notice nor long remember what we say here, but it cannot forget, end quote, the veterans of the Vietnam War and what they did. We cannot forget that. It is too easy. News runs on a 24-hour cycle, so we push it away. It's unpleasant. But we should remember unpleasant thoughts, and that is the sacrifice of these brave people and what they did in the cause of freedom. It is for us, the living, to be dedicated to the task for which the dead of that war paid, and I continue quoting from President Lincoln, their last full measure of devotion. That cause for which they sacrificed their lives is freedom from oppression, tyranny, and injustice. A general in the 5th century before Christ, Pericles, at the funeral of soldiers killed in the first year of the Peloponnesian War, used his speech similar to President Lincoln's Gettysburg address to use the eulogy for the fallen to examine the cause for which they fell. In a similar vein, I wish to say that the cause for which those we honor today was a just and honorable cause. Just and honorable. South Vietnam was an independent and sovereign state after 1954 and the end of French colonial rule. It, similar to every other nation on the planet Earth, had its faults, but it was sovereign and independent. The United States, seeking to aid and ally as our country does around the world, provided much assistance and support to this fledgling democracy. Later, as North Vietnam and its communist allies sought to ultimately overthrow the South, the United States, along with other freedom-loving countries, expanded its assistance and support, ultimately introducing large numbers of major combat forces to prevent the forced subjugation of the South Vietnamese people. At its height, the United States stationed over 1/2 million soldiers in the South, along with attacking North Vietnamese forces in the north, Laos, and Cambodia. Now, today, as we speak, many years later, Many in our country continue to seek to revise and rewrite the history of that war, seeking to deny its purpose as just and honorable, seeking to deny the warriors of that war, South Vietnamese and American, their rightful place in history as brave, courageous, and honorable warriors who, along with their South Vietnamese allies, laid down their lives just as earlier generations of courageous warriors have done to protect a free people. Someone once said that America is like a bank. If you want to take something out of that bank, then you must be willing to put something in. For you, the veterans of Vietnam, both South Vietnamese and American, a much maligned, poorly explained and understood, and many wish to continue to cause it a lost war, then the question of what that service meant may loom large in your mind. Certainly that war and its purpose is questioned daily, as well more recent wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. But you, my fellow veterans, have put much treasure into our nation's moral bank. Our fellow citizens would do well to pay heed to our deposits, for they represent the very foundations of a free society. And I wish to emphasize the following. It is not the decisions of ourselves to march to war. It is the decisions of our elected officials and thus the citizens who place them in office to send us to war. At this point, I want to pause momentarily to ask a question, not for you to answer or for me to answer, but for you to think about. Why is that important that we understand why the Vietnam War was fought? A one-word answer: integrity. Integrity, it has been said, is a choice that we make daily between the purity of truth and popularity. And I ask you simply, if you look at our television and our other media, today it is popularity. It is not integrity. We should insist upon integrity. Integrity is the purity of truth. The truth of why we fought in Vietnam. And we fought in Vietnam for freedom and injustice from oppression. The South did not cause itself to fall. The South Vietnamese government and its people were subjugated by force of arms from a North Vietnamese conventional army, aided and assisted by their communist allies, just as we see around the world today. Oliver Wendell Holmes, a most articulate justice of the Supreme Court and an infantry officer during the Civil War, said, and I quote, "As life is action and passion, it is required of a man that he should share the passion and action of his time, at peril of being judged not to have lived." You, my fellow veterans of Vietnam, are privileged that you will never face a judgment of having failed to live life fully. For you and I shared the passion and action of our time. President Lincoln, in his famous speech at Gettysburg, continued, and I quote, "It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion," which is what this monument is dedicated to today. In closing, I would like to say that after Vietnam and I continued in the Army, I thought often of Lieutenant Colonel Nguyen Minh Chau, South Vietnamese Marine Corps. whom I served with in my second tour. I was called an advisor. There was no giving advice to someone as wise, mature, and seasoned as Colonel Chow, who had fought the communist aggressors since the 1960s. He'd been wounded something like seven times, was no longer able to walk without assistance, but he was a man of immense integrity, honor. He loved his people, he loved his country, and he had my enduring respect and the respect of those in Xi'an district of Bien Hoa province. It was a memory which is seared in my mind for the rest of my life, and that is the warmth, the love, the cooperation, and the friendship that I grew to have with the people of our district, both civilian and military. And it made me a better person, made me a much better soldier. Let us go forward holding faith with those who have fallen, holding high the torch that our honored dead from Vietnam in that war have passed to us. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you this morning. God bless the memory of Colonel Chow and the lives of all these great Americans and noble warriors who gave their, quote, last full measure of devotion so that we and others may live free. God bless the people of South Vietnam and the United States of America. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you very much, General Helbley. Before we unveil the statue of the South Vietnamese soldier standing beside the U.S. soldier, please allow Trammy and me to provide you with a very, very brief background of this project. When I first met Trammy Nguyen about 5 years ago, she told me about her dream of creating a memorial to honor the lives of both Vietnamese and U.S. soldiers who sacrificed their lives fighting for freedom during the Vietnam War. Initially, it seemed like an impossible task, but as we became to know each other better and better, the dream became just difficult, but not impossible. In April of 2022, we formed a project team and started working in earnest to transform that dream into the memorial that you see today. From the beginning, the members of the project team were leaders from both the Vietnamese American community and the Atlanta Vietnam Veterans Business Association. After 8 months of searching for a suitable location for the memorial, we met in December with Mayor Deutsch. She was receptive to the concept and suggested a process for us to follow to obtain the support of the City Council for the project. Following numerous meetings with the City Council members, Parks and Recreation staff, and the City Manager, we presented a proposal to the City Council in May of 2023. In June of 2023, the City Council voted unanimously to accept our offer to build this $1 million privately funded memorial here in the beautiful Brook Run Park. Since that time, we have raised all of the $1 million project fund costs from donors, from hundreds of donors, from members and friends of both the Vietnamese American community and from the Atlanta Vietnam Veterans Business Association. As far as we know, this is the only memorial in existence jointly produced equally by funding and design of a partnership between Vietnamese refugees and U.S. Vietnam veterans that honors both the Vietnamese and U.S. soldiers who were killed during the Vietnam War, especially one that has a statue of a Vietnamese and an American standing side by side. We're very pleased about that.
Kính thưa quý vị, trước khi vén màn trình diễn hai bức tượng đồng của người lính Việt Nam Cộng Hòa và Hoa Kỳ, xin phép cho chúng tôi sơ lược về tổng quát quá trình xây dựng công trình ý nghĩa này. Lần đầu khi gặp ông John Butler, tôi có nói với ông về ước mơ xây dựng một tượng đài để tri ân những người lính Việt Nam Cộng Hòa và Hoa Kỳ đã phục vụ và hy sinh cuộc sống của họ để chiến đấu cho tự do trong chiến tranh Việt Nam. Thoạt đầu, nó như có vẻ là một nhiệm vụ bất khả thi, nhưng sau nhiều lần làm việc không ngừng nghỉ thì giấc mơ bắt đầu trở nên thực tế hơn. Mặc dù đã phải trải qua nhiều khó khăn, nhưng không vì thế mà chúng tôi bỏ cuộc. Vào tháng 4 năm 2022, chúng tôi đã thành lập một nhóm dự án và bắt đầu công việc một cách nghiêm túc. để biến giấc mơ đó thành tượng đài tưởng niệm mà quý vị đang nhìn thấy ngày hôm nay. Sau 8 tháng tìm kiếm một địa điểm thích hợp, chúng tôi đã gặp bà thị trưởng thành phố Dunwoody vào tháng 12. Bà đã tán thành và cho một số quy trình để chúng tôi tuân theo nếu muốn được sự hỗ trợ của thành phố để xây dựng công trình này. Sau nhiều cuộc họp với Hội đồng thành phố Dunwoody vào tháng 6 năm 2023, Hội đồng thành phố đã bỏ phiếu và nhất trí đề nghị chấp nhận cho việc xây dựng tượng đài tại công viên Brookland Park, một trong những vị trí thật đẹp và khang trang, với tổng chi phí là $1 triệu. Số tiền này là sự đóng góp của 2 tổ chức từ cộng đồng người Việt và Hiệp hội Doanh nhân Cựu chiến binh Hoa Kỳ. Theo như chúng tôi được biết, đây là một trong số đài tưởng niệm có sự hợp tác giữa người Việt tị nạn Cộng sản và cựu chiến binh Việt Nam Hoa Kỳ, để tôn vinh cả binh sĩ Việt Nam Cộng hòa và Hoa Kỳ cũng như đồng minh đã thiệt mạng trong chiến tranh Việt Nam. Đặc biệt là bức tượng có kích thước thật của người lính Việt Nam Cộng hòa đứng bên cạnh người lính Hoa Kỳ là trung tâm tượng đài, và sau lưng là 2 bức màn đen.
And now, without further delay, let us reveal this beautiful and meaningful statue. Following that, the presentation of wreaths of the memorial walls. We would like to invite Mayor Deutsch, Sammy Robinson, and Alan Gravel to come forward to reveal the statue at this time.
Và thưa quý vị, trong giờ phút trang trọng này, chúng tôi xin được vén màn trình diện tượng đài chiến sĩ Việt Mỹ. Xin kính mời bà thị trưởng thành phố Dunwoody Lundridge, ông Sammy Robinson là người phụ trách chính đặt 2 bức tượng đồng và bức tượng đá đen, cùng ông Alan Gravel là người chịu trách nhiệm thi công xây dựng để với bức tượng này. Xin tất cả quý vị hãy cùng nhìn về tượng đài. 1, 2, 3.
We will now have the presentation of wreaths to the memorial walls by the Republic of Vietnam's Next Generation of Georgia and leaders from the Atlanta Vietnam Veterans Business Association and the Republic of Vietnam Veterans Armed Forces Coalition of Georgia will come forward with the wreath laying at this point.
Tiếp theo chương trình là phần đặt vòng hoa trước bức tượng tưởng niệm, sẽ được dâng lên bởi các em hậu duệ Việt Nam Cộng hòa Georgia và 2 vị đại diện của Hội Cựu Quân nhân Hoa Kỳ và Liên hội Cựu chiến sĩ quân lực Việt Nam Cộng hòa Georgia. Xin mời quý vị cùng tiến lên.
No, we don't need to. And now to honor our fallen countrymen, please stand as you are able for a moment of silence, followed by a 3-volley rifle salute by the Marine Corps League, followed by the playing of taps.
Để vinh danh và tri ân những người lính đã hy sinh và tử trận trong chiến tranh Việt Nam, xin kính mời tất cả quý vị cùng đứng lên và đứng yên để làm 1 phút truy điệu. Tiếp theo là 3 loạt súng truy điệu và cuối cùng là kèn truy điệu chiến sĩ trận vong. A moment of silence.
1, 2, 3.